Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. My name's Shane Fozard. I'm founder of Australian Success Academy and also head coach for Intimate Success. So tonight it is the Divorce-Proof Relationship webinar. Now, how would you like to have the most blissful, deeply connected relationship? Like your honeymoon, to feel that feeling for your entire life? Well, an intimate relationship can be one of the biggest sources of pain and hurt for people, or it can be the greatest source of pleasure and satisfaction. Yet in society, especially in our formal education system, our primary school, high school, and university, from all the people that I've spoken to, not teaching people how to have a successful intimate relationship seems to be one of the biggest oversights that we've made. And look, tonight I'm going to show you some key exercises and tools that you can use immediately in your relationship to repair any damage that may have been done from the past, or you can start to fortify and strengthen the bond that you have with your loved ones. Now, whether your partner's involved in this webinar or not, or whether they learn some of these tools or not, it doesn't really matter. Because the great thing about what I'm about to talk to you about is that you can have a significant positive impact on your relationship, even when your partner has no idea about what's going on. And I've met some people who openly will tell me their partner has no clue about what's going on. But I think they're probably talking about something different. Look, it doesn't matter whether you've been married for 60 years or dating for 6 days. When you start to put some of these tools and strategies into practice, the happiness that you'll feel will be completely uplifting. The relief of emotional stress that it will offer, and the fact that it will improve your health, and the connection that you'll feel between you and your partner will be vastly, vastly improved. Now, hopefully you've got a pen and some paper handy. We're going to go through a number of exercises. So I'm going to get you to take a few notes with some of the live events that I train people in. If maybe you see me live, or maybe it's the first introduction you have to me, one of the things I encourage people to do is take plenty of notes. And take notes as though you're going to train this to somebody else. So hopefully you've got a pen and paper handy, and if not, quickly go and grab one. And so look, trust me, when you have a relationship that's running like a high-performance machine, or again, like a high-performance machine that's regularly serviced and it's an absolute dream to drive, well, look, life is much, much easier. And I know for myself, I was probably much like you. I sort of went through school, and I've had a number of failed relationships in my life. And each time I went through that relationship, or that relationship that didn't work, I thought it was my partner's fault. I thought it was their fault for why the relationship didn't work. But what I wasn't aware of at the time was that I was the common element in each relationship. And it wasn't until I took some time out to really start to look at myself and realize that I was taking me into each relationship, so that maybe I was the cause of the reason for why those relationships didn't work. And it wasn't until many years later that I met the true love of my life, Jess. Some of you have met Jess, and if you haven't, hopefully you'll meet her sometime soon. But even at the point that I met Jess, and I met Jess at a personal growth event, and I thought, well, what better place to meet the love of my life, to find a woman that's really switched on and open-minded and focused on growth, but to go to a personal growth course. And so even though I met Jess at this point, and we'd been through some personal growth courses together, despite the fact that I learned from some of my past mistakes, and as I learned further on that there were some more lessons I still needed to make, I didn't know enough about how to have an effective relationship or how to have a successful relationship. I was probably like most people out there, and I was just trying to wing it and trying not to make mistakes along the way. And so in the beginning, our relationship, things were easy. We were in this honeymoon period where everything was new and exciting, and we were deeply in love. And then over time, things started to change. And we sort of fell back into some familiar routines. And that excitement started to decrease. And we started to sort of almost like take each other for granted at times. As you can see on the screen there's a photo of Jess and I on our first date. You might notice a slight drunken glow that I have there, because back then I used to drink alcohol, And I thought at that point in time that being drunk would make the first date less nervous, at least for me. And of course, I used to think that goatee was pretty cool back then as well, just to add some age to my baby face. But as some of you know, I've since got rid of that. But that's our first date, the first date that I took Jess out for dinner down in Melbourne. And what started to happen is we started to take each other for granted. We started arguing. And those moments where we'd argue and have moments where we'd disagree, we'd start to increase. We started to speak harshly towards each other. And sometimes those feelings of negativity towards each other would last hours, and sometimes it'd last days. And some of our friends would say to us, look, that's okay, it happens. The relationships are hard work. You know what, just give it a few days and things will go back to the way they were. But for me, I didn't really like that advice. Mostly because from some of the people it was coming from, their relationships weren't that great. And I had learned a few things around my time, and that was if you do what other people do, you're going to get the results that other people get. And so I was quite conscious of where was their advice coming from. But more importantly, I was always someone that was really curious about whether there was a better way to do something. Was there a faster, more effective way to get a particular result? And I remember a few years ago, there was one big argument that we had, and it ended up resulting in both of us having this huge shouting match at each other. Both of us were too stubborn to give in, digging our heels in, believing that we're absolutely right about our opposing views. Now, I used to consider myself quite a good debater. I used to argue quite actively with my brother, and thought I was quite good at picking holes in people's arguments. And so, in this moment, I pulled out that card, I pulled out that skill, and I picked holes in Jess's argument. And I started to belittle her, and she ended up tearing up and crying. And all I was doing was agitating the situation. It all got too much, and it ended with Jess slamming the bedroom door and me walking out of the house, throwing some flippant comment away, such as, I can't handle this, I'm out of here, you sort your own shit out. And I walked out of the house to cool down. Now, fortunately, over some time, we calmed down and we both came back together. And we knew that something had to change before things got any worse. And we knew deep down inside that there must be an easier way. Because there's always a way to do things better. It was just a matter of us finding out how, finding someone that had done it before us, being coached by somebody. And so we went to a relationship course. It ended up costing us $12,000 for both of us to go. And despite it being a huge sum of money for us back then, we soon realised just how powerful that course was, as we very quickly learned some amazing tools that had an immediate improvement on our relationship. And we realised that there must be so many other tools and strategies out there that we didn't know, but that we really needed to know. And we were thankful that we knew some of them now. Because by going to this course, it allowed us to get back on track. But we knew that there were more tools and strategies out there. So we went to more courses, learning from some of the world's best and most successful relationship therapists and researchers, spending days in seminars, hundreds of hours, being in a room, listening to the world's best speakers and trainers and therapists in the area of relationship. Now, admittedly, it cost us tens of thousands of dollars. Now, I get a lot of people that ask me, and they hear this story, spending all that money. I mean, for the amount of money you spend on that course, you could have bought a house. You could put a deposit down on a house. And I always say the same thing. Absolutely. Of course it was worth it. I mean, let me ask you this. How much would you pay to save your relationship and make it the best it could be? How much effort would you put into making both you and your partner feel on top of the world every single day, and to do it effortlessly? Well, your response to that will give you some indication as to what you're willing to do and how much your relationship means to you. And for me, it meant everything. Now, I was willing to give everything to it. Fortunately, I didn't have to, but I was prepared to. And as a result of educating ourselves and seeking out these opportunities and putting the effort and putting in the investment, our love flourished even more than when it first started. We got back to that honeymoon feeling, and this time we kept that feeling going. We understood more about each other and ourselves, and so we started to resolve our difference of opinions in record time now. And we set standards in our relationship that ensured that every single day there would be variety, spontaneity, stability, passion, intimacy, connection, and just as important, plenty of fun. We became a united and aligned couple, aligned on money, aligned on health, aligned on how we'd parent when we had kids, aligned on when we were actually going to have children, and aligned on our mission and purpose in life. Now, for those of you that have come to a few live events with myself and Jess, you may remember, or maybe I haven't told you this, but we became such a united front that we gave ourselves a label. And Jess and I refer to ourselves as Team Awesome. That became an identity that we lived up to, because Team Awesome can handle absolutely anything. And we do. And we help people create significant changes in their life, help them overcome significant and monumental problems. Look, these days I'm now hired to provide one-on-one coaching to couples and singles, showing them how they can improve their connection, intimacy, and knowing that the love that they feel and they want to share with one another can actually increase. I've already trained well over 4,000 people across Australia nationally in my live training programs. And to give you some examples, there's one couple I've worked with just this year so far that were on the verge of splitting up. The wife felt like she'd been overlooked for years, and she was absolutely fed up with it. And as a result, she carried a lot of pain with it. Now, the wife had started to become attracted to somebody else. Somebody else was starting to come into the equation here. Now, after a number of coaching calls with me, this couple are now fully committed to each other. They're now using the skills and tools that are used by the world's most successful relationship therapists, but this time, this couple's now being their own therapist, and they feel happier and more fulfilled with each other. To give you another example, there was another client of mine. This client was a divorcee. She'd been through a divorce. Now, she came and spent 2.5 days with me at one of my live events called Intimate Success. And from using the tools she learned, she released pain and anger that she felt towards her ex-husband. And she was able to communicate more calmly and effectively with him after attending the course. Now, these days, she even says that she's now really good friends with her ex-husband. Because she's got children with him, she has to communicate with him quite regularly. And she now considers herself a much better role model for her children, showing them that there's no benefit in being bitter about something that's happened in the past. Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but 80% of divorces are actually initiated by women. And most people, when you ask them why they think this is, they typically think it's because men are cheating bastards that think there's something other than their head. And look, whilst this statistic is true, that it is true that 80% of divorces are actually filed by women, the rate of infidelity for both men and women is almost virtually the same. And some people think it's just better to stay together in a relationship and just numb themselves to the fact that they're not going to be completely fulfilled in their relationship. They think it's better to just reduce their expectations, because by reducing your expectations, you don't get hurt, you don't get let down, and they start to just fall into the roles of getting up each morning, having breakfast, going to work, giving maybe the routine peck on the cheek to say goodbye, saying I love you but not really feeling the emotion behind it, coming home, making dinner, sitting in front of the TV, grunting at each other, and really not expecting much from each other. Now, there's a recent study that was conducted that found that people in unhappy marriages are actually 35% more likely to get sick. And they also found that people who stay in unhappy marriages find that their life shortens by approximately 4 years. Now, part of the reason for this is that people in unhappy marriages feel physically and emotionally stressed more often, which then leads to some life-threatening complications such as high blood pressure, heart disease, sometimes even depression, and can also lead to substance abuse. And it's thought that couples that are in happy marriages, and the reason why they live longer, is that they keep each other in check. They encourage each other to exercise, they encourage each other to get a checkup with a doctor, and they also support and encourage each other to eat healthy foods. In fact, there's been a scientific study looking at happily married couples compared to couples that are unsatisfied. And they've found that happily married couples tend to have a stronger and more efficient immune system when compared to couples that feel unsatisfied or even neutral about their relationship. And so there's a lot of value not only in just feeling better about your relationship and having that emotional value that comes with it, but there's a physical value and a physical benefit from actually working on your relationship. And I've felt it myself. I've experienced it. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's all thanks to having an amazing woman in my life, but also thanks to myself for putting in the effort and the investment to work on myself and learning more about how I can have an amazing relationship. Now, I'm not special, but I've learned some special things. And after spending hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars on relationship courses, Jess and I actually discovered that there were some common principles and strategies that were being taught. And we really wanted our friends and family members to get access to this information so they could get the same great results in their relationship that we'd experienced. But some of our friends and family members had these limiting beliefs like, I don't have the money or I don't have the time. But we really thought that there was so much value for them to get from it. Like we'd go to Christmases and we'd go to birthdays and even weddings and family reunions. And we'd see so many friends and family members complaining about their partners or just being spoken to quite harshly from their partner or just complaining about why their relationship wasn't working so well. And so we really wanted to help these people that were closest to us. And so we synthesized everything we learned from these courses, all these courses that we'd attended, and we came up with a very simple yet very powerful solution for people that want to improve their relationships but who may be somewhat time poor. And it's called the Honeymoon Feeling Forever 6-step system. Now, step 1 is oneself. And it's learning that everything starts with you. The easiest person to change is you. And so you want to look at your beliefs. your values, what standards you set for yourself, what's your blueprint for your relationship, what identities do you have, what emotions do you allow yourself to feel, and what choices do you make? And this one self component clearly demonstrates to you just how one person can significantly improve a relationship even without the other person doing anything. And it's very powerful. Now, step 2 is we'll look at the 2 sexual energies, looking at that dynamic within your relationship, the polarity, and how this can be used, and how if you don't know about it, it can actually lead to a loss of attraction, an energetic attraction. Now, a relationship is like 2 magnets. If the magnets are depolarized, so if you have a positive end against another positive end, well, then they end up repelling each other. And maybe you've done that with 2 magnets. You sort of flip them around and you try to push them together and it feels like there's something pushing them away. However, if you get those 2 magnets and you polarize them, so you have a negative facing a positive, then they attract each other, they pull each other towards. And you'll learn how you have access to both energies within you and what situation or context a particular energy is more useful in, and how you can use these energies to attract your partner even deeper. Now, step 3 is the 3 dimensions of a relationship. Looking at whether you're having a one-dimensional relationship, which means, are you focused on what you can get out of the relationship? Is that all you're concerned with? What can I get out of this relationship? Maybe you're in a 2-dimensional relationship where you're only putting in the effort if you feel the other person is putting in equal effort. Maybe you're only willing to do things so far as long as your partner will do things so far. Or maybe you're in a 3rd dimension, which is the most desirable dimension, which is where you feel and practice true, unconditional love. Now, you'll also learn how to evolve up through the dimensions. Maybe you're on the 1st dimension, but you want to be in the 3rd dimension. You'll learn how to evolve through that very quickly, but you'll also learn what can happen that devolves you back down through the dimensions. Step 4, we'll look at forgiveness. Now, many of us have done things, said things, and behaved in ways that we regret. And many of us have actually been on the receiving end of these undesirable experiences. You'll learn this very important skill of forgiving both yourself and your partner for what has happened, so you can move forward with a clean slate, rather than carrying the baggage from the past. Because choosing not to forgive someone is like drinking poison and hoping for that other person to suffer. It just doesn't work that way. Next, moving to step 5, we'll look at the 5 love languages, which is made famous by best-selling author Gary Chapman. And you'll discover what your preferred method of receiving love is, what your partner's preferred method of receiving love is, and how this may differ and change over time. Now, many people give love the way they want to receive it, and they wonder why their partner doesn't feel loved. It could be because you're actually speaking different love languages. And then step 6, look at the 6 human needs, or human needs psychology, which is a construct created by best-selling author and speaker Tony Robbins. And it'll give you a clear understanding of how you can meet your partner's needs even more, where the gaps are, and how your partner can also meet your needs more effectively. So rather than trying to guess or use that scattergun approach and just try and do everything and hope it all fits the right places, you'll find out exactly what your partner wants and how to give it to them. Now, I don't have time to take you through all 6 steps, but I want to show you the power of step 1, which is oneself, and just how working on yourself can significantly improve your relationship, as it covers beliefs, values, the choices that you make, the emotions that you choose to feel, the identities that you choose to have, and the standards that you choose to create in your relationship, and showing you how you can change all of these. Now we're going to firstly focus today on choices. I'm going to take you through three elements of this. Firstly, we're looking at choices, and it's choosing to set aligned goals and plan on how to achieve it. We're then also going to look at the beliefs that you have or the beliefs that you want to have. We're then also going to look, finally, at the identities that you can use and why these are helpful. Now, imagine your relationship is this beautiful princess that's admired wide across all the lands. And she's sitting in this unprotected castle, or castle, depends on which state you're from. Well, these three exercises tonight that I'm going to take you through will be like you digging a huge moat around your castle, building an extra defensive walls, and equipping all your soldiers in the latest armor, thereby ensuring that that divorce dragon can never get access to your fortified relationship or the princess. So let's start to divorce-proof your relationship now. Hopefully you've got a pen and paper handy. Now, you can never hit a target if you don't know what you're aiming for. And it's known as a successful strategy in most of what we do in life, such as business, that you always want to plan. And you've probably heard of business plans. You probably even created a business plan. You set goals in business and you plan to achieve those goals. And there's a common saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And the same rule is true even in a relationship. And one of the biggest oversights that people make is that most people never set any goals in their relationship. It's kind of like setting sail in a boat, launching from the jetty, heading off on this yacht and just letting the currents take you wherever they like. Even if that means those currents are taking you into the middle of a huge storm. So what I'm going to quickly take you through is a fast and effective way to get some clear goals and to plan how to achieve those goals in your relationship. Firstly, what I get you to do is write down a list of 3 or more goals that you want to achieve within your relationship. And ideally, you want to be as specific as possible. Now, some examples could be maybe your goal is to have one date night every fortnight. Or maybe not even having a date night every 6 months. Go for something that's a little bit more realistic for you. One date night every month. Maybe your goal is to spend 15 minutes with your partner every single day with the laptop turned off, the mobile phone turned off, and the TV turned off. Or maybe your goal is to walk for half an hour, 3 times a week with your partner, just being connected. Whatever your goal is, I'd like you to write down a list of 3 or more goals that you want to achieve within your relationship. Step 2, the next thing for you to do is to schedule in your calendar for when these goals will be achieved. Because it's one thing to set a goal, but if you don't actually start to plan, and you don't start to put it onto a calendar, if you don't give it a time frame, unconsciously, you're less inclined to actually achieve it. And then the third step is to print out and place goals somewhere where it's visible. So print them out, write them out, print them on, put them on the fridge, put them on the mirror, put them somewhere where it's visible so you can keep yourself accountable. And it's constantly going to be reminded to yourself anytime you see it. So ideally put it somewhere where you're going to see it quite often. Now, if you're someone that doesn't go to the fridge very often, maybe the fridge is not the best place for it. If you happen to sit in front of the TV and watch a lot of TV, or maybe stick it up next to the TV, or better yet, stick it on the TV, right in the middle. It's a good reminder to spend more time in a relationship than watch TV. Now, everyone loves to be right. This is why what we believe in, we actually typically find evidence to prove to ourselves and sometimes to other people that our belief was correct. I'll give you an example. If you believe that something is too hard, you'll typically find ways to prove yourself right. If you believe something is easy, you'll find where this is true as well. And so what you believe is what you perceive, and this in turn affects your behavior as well as your outlook and your emotional state. Now, if somebody believes that relationships are too complicated, well, then that person is not likely going to enter into a new relationship without some degree of some unconscious reservations. And so going into a relationship with that type of belief, that person may even start to look for the cracks or the complications even after just the first date. Beliefs is a powerful, very powerful place to start. So let's look at what empowering beliefs do you want to use to assist you in your relationship. There's a few steps here. The first step is to list 3 or more beliefs that you want to hold about your relationship. So what are 3 wholesale statements or beliefs that you want to take on or you really want to believe? It might be something you would like to happen, but maybe you truly don't believe it just yet. What are some beliefs that you would like to have about your relationship? And some examples that I have for you there are that we can overcome anything. Now, if you have that belief, well, that basically means you can handle any problem that you are going to face as a relationship. Whether it be somebody using the wrong tonality, whether it be somebody being selfish in the moment, whether it be a significant upheaval in your life, maybe a death of a loved one. Another belief there, as an example, is that there's always a way. There's always a way to resolve the situation very quickly. There's always a way to feel more connected. There's always a way for us to feel more love and respect for each other right now. And another one is that our love is stronger than our individual need to be right. And this can be a very powerful one again. Now, please know these are just examples, just to get you thinking in that space. But that bottom one, that's one that Jess and I share. I mean, basically, there's always a way is another one that we share, and that we can overcome anything is something we definitely share because we're Team Awesome. Team Awesome can handle anything. But getting back to the third one, which is our love is stronger than our individual need to be right, means that in those moments when we sometimes infrequently fall into an unresourceful state and we feel a need to be right, one of us will bring up that belief that our love's stronger than our need to be right. And it instantly improves the situation. It instantly changes our emotional state and makes us more resourceful. That really is the power of having some empowering beliefs. And most people don't take the time to consciously create empowering beliefs. Most people just let them happen unconsciously. And we are really good at criticizing ourselves. And it is why it is so common for people to have limiting beliefs when they talk themselves out of doing things. It is the biggest hurdle that people have in their life on their journey to achieve success in anything. It's their limiting beliefs. And so step 2 is to list 3 negative outcomes that could happen if you don't live up to these new empowering beliefs. And so what we're doing here is we're creating a little bit of pain. We're creating a moving away from motivation for why we really want to take on this empowering belief. What's a negative outcome that could happen if you don't live up to these new empowering beliefs? And just allow your imagination to run wild. Run wild into that pain area. The bigger the pain, the more you feel that pain, the more leverage, the more motivation you'll have to take on that empowering belief. And what it's doing is it's preparing you unconsciously to really take it on and to really have it installed at the deep unconscious level. You might even go as far as and say, you know what, I am going to die 4 years before my time if I don't take on this empowering belief. My relationship will end in a divorce if I don't take on this empowering belief. I know it's going to seem a bit radical, but there are times when I have gone so far to say, if I don't do this, I'm going to get cancer. Now, I certainly don't want to get cancer. And so do you think I really man up and make it happen? Of course I do. Step 3. You want to list 3 positive outcomes that will happen when you do live up to these beliefs. So now we're focusing on the pleasure. We're focusing on the moving towards motivation now. So I want you to list 3 positive outcomes that will happen when you do live up to these beliefs. What will happen when you live to these beliefs, when you're true to these beliefs? You will live to the ripe old age of 130 with your partner, and you'll be deeply connected and still having those intimate and passionate moments with each other. Your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will also live and lead deeply passionate and connected relationships because they've followed your lead. They've had you and your partner to look up to as role models, to show them and leave a legacy for them, or whatever positive outcomes you want to look at. Now again, you can allow your imagination to run wild. The more emotional association you give it, the deeper that you will install these empowering beliefs. You might even go as far as say, when I live up to these positive beliefs, these empowering beliefs, I will become a billionaire. I will have an amazing life that people will look to as an example. Or whatever you need to do to really create that positive moving towards motivation. And then step 4, list 3 reasons why you know each belief is true for you right now. Find evidence somewhere in your life where you can prove that that belief is actually true. How do you know that you can overcome anything? How do you know that there's always a way? How do you know that your love is stronger than your individual need to be right? Or whatever your beliefs are. And to list 3 reasons. So you actually have hard evidence. You're convinced that yes, this actually is true. Because the great thing about a belief is it's like a coin. There's 2 sides to a coin. The question is, which side are you going to look at? Now, exercise 3. When someone considers themselves an athlete, they typically find ways to train and exercise on a regular basis. And when people consider themselves a writer, for example, well, they typically will sit down and they will write. They'll write articles or stories. And this is the power of an identity. People typically don't do what they're capable of, but they will do and live up to the identities that they hold on themselves. And you can use the power of identities in your relationship to help you become more resourceful. Let me ask you this. Have you ever asked yourself before, now maybe there's someone that you look up to. It might be, let's say, someone's really good at solving problems, Albert Einstein. You might be faced with a big problem. And you might have done this before at some point in your life where you said, you know what would Albert Einstein do in this situation? And this is an example of using somebody's identity to help you become more resourceful. And it really is the power of identities. And so this is how you can create some identities in your relationship and how you can create a unified identity. Step 1. Firstly, decide on an identity that both you or your partner, decide on an identity that you or both of you, you and your partner, want to live up to within your relationship. So some examples are Gomez and Morticia Adams. Now, if you're familiar with the Addams Family, the TV show, yeah, the black and white TV show, I can't remember what era it was, maybe the 60s possibly, Gomez and Morticia Addams were one of the most deeply connected, passionate couples that I had witnessed in my childhood. And that vision and the impact that it left with me, I'm still carried to this day. I can still have visions of Gomez sort of dipping Morticia and doing a seductive tango with her, and almost like willing to drop anything to show Morticia how much he loves and adores her. And Morticia doing exactly the same back to Gomez. Now, if you can see past the gloomy sort of gothic theme to their lifestyles, and you really start to focus on the passion and the intimacy and connection that Gomez and Morticia have, well, then maybe that's an identity that you can connect with. Or maybe it's Brad and Angelina, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And maybe you associate to the fact that despite the challenges that Angelina Jolie has faced in recent years, that Brad Pitt has been there by her side, that he has been unwavering in his support, despite being such a superstar celebrity and having the pick of the women in the world. He has stayed with Angelina Jolie, and Angelina Jolie, to her own credit, has stuck by Brad Pitt, despite being a very attractive woman who could have the pick of any man in the world, apart from me, of course. But if you connect with these people, you see them as a deeply passionate and connected couple, well, then they're a potential identity for you to associate to. Or maybe you're a bit more of a classic fan, and you really associate to Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler, who are from Gone with the Wind, the famous couple from the hit movie Gone with the Wind. Now, not that I don't associate with that very much at all. To tell you the truth, I haven't watched Gone with the Wind at all. But look, maybe that's something you associate with. Alternatively, maybe there's another label for you. Maybe something that isn't mentioned. Maybe something that you really do connect with. In some of the courses that I've run, some other names that have come up is Michelle Obama or Barack Obama. Other ones have been Pink, the pop star Pink, who's such a strong yet passionate woman. Now, there's one of my clients that I was coaching, and we were talking about his need to stand strong when he was facing the storm that was the criticisms or the complaints he was receiving from his wife, and said, well, what's a character, what's an identity of someone that's strong, that's powerful, that's immovable? What's a character that is unstoppable? And he came up with Superman. And so he now uses that identity of Superman. And so the idea is to come up with an identity, and possibly a unified identity, maybe a couple. Maybe it doesn't need to be a couple. It can be individual identities. I know for Jess and myself, we have a unified identity, Team Awesome, but we also have individual identities that we have for ourselves that help us become more resourceful in those moments when we need to be. And then step 2, once you've decided on an identity, is to refer to this identity when speaking to your partner. Taking on the positive traits and behaviours of these new identities from time to time. So it's not necessarily that you just become this person and you lose yourself to this new identity. It's just like a hat that's sitting on the coat rack of your mind, or more importantly, the hat rack, that you can choose to put on. And just like a hat, you don't always wear it. And so that's the third exercise. Now, when you do all 3 of these exercises and you start to take action and you implement them in your relationship, I kid you not, your relationship, especially when you're just doing it yourself. Now, ideally, if you've got your partner by your side that's helping you, that's supporting you, look, admittedly, you do get faster progress. You do make bigger, significant changes. But maybe there are a lot, and again, I'll generalize here, there are a lot of men that don't want to talk about relationships. And there's some biological reasons for why that is, and I'll get into that at some of our other courses. I don't have time to get into the detail. But look, maybe you're here and your partner's not. Well, know that you can still make changes yourself by putting these exercises into practice. Now, I'm not sure whether you've been around young children, but if you've ever potty trained a toddler before, you'll know that the first time they try and use the potty, but maybe they miss it and they get it all over the floor and the walls. But as long as it's still in the right room, well, you congratulate them for getting close. Like, yeah, you got it in the room. You got it in the right room. And you end up having to wipe down the walls and the floor. And then the next time that they try to use the potty, and they get half of it in the potty this time, and they get the other half all over the floor and still over the walls, and this time on the door, but you still congratulate them and go, yeah, well done, you got half of it in the right place. Well, look, some people have unrealistic expectations on themselves and their partner, and they expect everything to be perfected and vastly improved immediately. As I'm sure you know, most skills take time to master. So please, give yourself and your partner the same leeway that you would with a toddler. Focus on what did change. Focus on what improvements were made, no matter how small. Focus on what efforts were given rather than whether the desired outcome was achieved. So really what I'm saying here is focus on improvement, not perfection. So look, now if you'd like to learn more about our Honeymoon Feeling Forever 6-step system, let me show you how. So we have Intimate Success, which is our 2.5-day live relationship program. And it's being held, we're about to start a national tour, travelling to Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, and then Perth over the next 8 weeks. So look, if you're in a relationship, by coming along to Intimate Success, you'll become more connected and intimate with your partner, and you'll have the ability to become more passionate. You may be already a 9 out of 10. You may even be a 10 out of 10 in terms of you are blissfully happy. Well, you'll be surprised that there is another level above that. It will feel like you've just been on a honeymoon and you still have that walking on cloud 9 feeling that actually stays with you. And this is ideal for couples that are really happy, like I said, because what you'll learn will actually give you a conscious understanding of what you may already be doing, but maybe you just don't know that you're doing it. So when you have a conscious understanding, you can actually do more of it consciously and take your relationship even further. Now, even if you're single, or even if your partner doesn't want to come along, well then what you'll learn is you'll learn more about yourself and how to understand the person that you are and also understand the person that you're with. Or even if you're single, you'll learn how to attract the right person into your life by first looking at yourself. And I always say to people that are single that if you want to find the person of your dream, you first need to be the person of their dreams. And look, by coming along to Intimate Success, you also give you a golden ticket. And what that means is you can actually come back and re-attend Intimate Success anytime you like, in any location you like, for the next 3 years, free of charge. Because I understand that sometimes, I mean, there are a lot of tools and a lot of strategies, a lot of hints and tips that we're going to go through. Sometimes people need a bit of a refresher, just like anything in life. You don't master it the first time. But with time and reinforcement, you get much, much better. So it's a 2.5-day course. It starts on a Friday night from Friday night at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and then on Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Sunday from 9:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it's been held in Melbourne in the CBD from the 8th to the 10th of August, North Adelaide from the 15th to 17th of August, in North Sydney from the 29th to the 31st of August, and then Perth in the CBD from the 12th to the 14th of September. Now look, we do limit the seats to 50 people in each event so that we can ensure that it's intimate and at the highest quality level. So as you can see, there aren't many tickets remaining in each city, and there's 10 for Melbourne, 19 for Adelaide, 12 for Sydney, and 9 for Perth. So if you're interested, you do need to be quick. Look, normally the tickets to attend Intimate Success are sold for $497 for a couple. And even with myself, having spent tens of thousands of dollars on going to relationship courses, and even if I'd spent $100,000. From what I know now and the fact that I have the tools and Jess has the tools and we use them on each other, it is so worth it. And so I want to give you an opportunity today for you to join me at Intimate Success for not $497, but for $49 per person. So I know this course will improve your relationship and the flow-on effects will be absolutely amazing and huge. And that's why I'm so confident of it that I'm willing to give you a money-back guarantee. So look, if you come to Intimate Success and by the end of it, if you feel like you didn't get full value for money, then just hand in your manual and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. And of all the hundreds of people that have come through the course, no one has ever asked their money back. But look, I'll tell you, if you want to be the first, I'm happy to do that. Look now, these tickets are way too cheap for the value that it provides. And look, we only have limited seats left, as I said. So I also want to let you know this is the only time we're going to be doing it this year. And it is the last time that we'll be offering tickets at $49. So what I'd say to you is secure your seat, jump on there. There's a button next to this webinar. You'll get an email soon after this webinar with a link that allows you to purchase a ticket. Look, we'd love to have you join me. And look, if you go and secure your seat in the next 24 hours, not only will you learn these amazing tools with myself and Jess, Team Awesome, you get to be a part of us here, but look, we'll also give you access to a $500 training dollar voucher just by completing our Intimate Success survey, assuming you sign up in the next 24 hours. Like I said, look, this is going to sell out. There's only 25% of the tickets are left that are available. If you want to jump in, jump in. Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time and your energy tonight. I know that you're very busy people, and I totally respect the fact that you have chosen to spend an hour with me. If you have any questions, if there's anything I can do to help you, answer any questions or give you more detail, please feel free to email me, which is support@Australian Success. Any comments or questions, any feedback, I'd love to hear it, whether you enjoyed the webinar or not. Jump on Facebook, leave some comments, let me know what you thought of it, what value you got, and whether you recommend other people should take part of it. So guys, thanks again. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.